We broadcast this on the final day of February. Tomorrow we get into March, which means spring practice is just about 3 weeks away. And the coaching staff is slowly but surely coming together. And Mike, it sounds like that Joe Rudolph, a veteran offensive line coach who did some great things in the Big Ten, is lined up to be the new offensive line coach of the Fighting Irish. Some early impressions on what you've learned about Joe Rudolph.
Yeah, I'll have a story about this coming at Blue and Gold in the coming days about a recruiting outlook, kind of just what people that I'm talking to generally think about him. But the consensus is just, I think the word solid. Like, I don't think it was a swing and a miss. I don't know if it was a home run. I think it was a solid double or a triple. Yeah, I mean, if you thought Andy Heck was going to come to Notre Dame, that was probably wishful thinking, or if Chris Watt was the other end of the spectrum. Watt probably a little too soon for him to become, the offensive line coach at Notre Dame. I think Joe Rudolph is a good, happy medium, probably trending closer to, the high end of the spectrum of what Notre Dame could get here. You mentioned veteran. I think that's an important thing. He's got play caller experience. Spent as, I think I'm pretty sure he played at Wisconsin and coached there for a while. So that ground and pound approach is going to be important to Notre Dame. He's obviously coached some really good offensive line groups at Wisconsin, and he takes over a terrific group at Notre Dame. So and in terms of him as a recruiter, again, I'll touch more on that in my article at Blue and Gold this week, but the consensus is just a good, solid dude, like just a very consistent person, someone who consistent on the recruiting trail, not going to break your door down in an annoying way, but is not going to slack off on the trail. 50 years old, so he's not a spring chicken, but he's also, not inching to retirement. He's still a youthful spirit in that front. So I think this is a solid get for the Fighting Irish. Again, could they have done better? Sure. But from everything I gather, this is going to be a good get for Notre Dame. And it's not like, when in Brian Kelly era, when you have a guy like Jeff Quinn, like offensive line recruiting is really just on his shoulders. With Rudolph, it's not the case. Jared Parker, Chad Bowden, Marcus Freeman, more in the recruiting office. All these guys are going to be able to, help him out. So it's not just everything on his shoulders. So good hire for Notre Dame. Think it's a solid one and a good way to round out the coaching staff.
I'm going to give my opinion on something, and I'd love for you to get your thoughts. I think there's a small group of the fan base that sees Marcus Freeman is bringing in a lot of people he knows to be a part of his coaching staff. And I don't see the big deal right now. And here's my thinking. He is a second-year head coach, Mike, and he is someone that needs people that he trusts around him to be a part of the building of the Notre Dame that he wants. Now, 5-6 years down the line, if he wants to branch out and bring in some new ideas to kind of rethink the program or a side of the football like Brian Kelly did. He went away from Mike Denbrock and brought in someone from the outside to call some plays. So I guess my thinking is I think he needs people that he trusts and he knows what they're all about right now. And down the line, if he needs to tweak something, go outside the family, he can do that.
Yeah, and this was an outside the family hire. Now, I know that I think
small
from
connection.
like 04 to 06, right? Rudolph was a GA at Ohio State, and Freeman, played there. I want to say around, I think 06 might have been Freeman's freshman, or 05 might have been Freeman's freshman season. I can't, around that time. So a little bit, but, that's more of a, hey, do you remember nearly 20 years ago that so I don't know if they're drinking buddies or anything, but yeah, I mean, there's got to be a healthy combo of, going outside your coaching tree, and then, the guys, your foxhole guys, like a Jared Parker, like a Gino Guidugli, but guys like Joe Rudolph, Chancey Stuckey, Dylan McCullough, Al Golden, those are outside that Luke Fickell tree, if you want to call it that. So yeah, I think it's a good, healthy combo of the staff. Guys he's very comfortable with. I think that's important for a young coach, especially to just have that chemistry in the room, because if you're Marcus Freeman, what is he, 36, 37 years old, 36, I want to say. And you have all these big egos, guys that you don't really know how to control. That could get out of hand pretty quickly. So again, I think that blend is pretty important.
Mike Singer, Notre Dame football recruiting insider, Blue and Gold Illustrated, blueandgold.com, is my guest. Not only is he the recruiting insider, but little do you know that he's also in charge of following the transfer portal and grad transfers. He does it all for Blue and Gold Illustrated. And earlier this week, Mike, there was a bit of news that a Maryland offensive guard, Mason Lunsford, was going to be visiting this week. And in fact, he put out that on social media himself. It sounds like as we record this on Tuesday, things have changed a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's what an off season it's been. Like this is just kind of like a low end news. Like, oh yeah, offensive line transfer guy coming in. Oh, less than 24 hours later, the news is canceled. Like, that just kind of goes to show how quickly things can change. We've certainly seen that this off season. But yeah, I got a source reached out to me this morning, was told, yeah, Lunsford's not coming on campus. So, and I know next weekend he was supposed to go to Arkansas, and he's had another visit he was going to do after that. So, why this got canceled, it just did. It just did, Darren. The visit's off. I know that Notre Dame feels really good about its interior offensive line position. Lunsford was being recruited by Notre Dame to play left guard next to Joe Alt. I think there was an exciting proposition there, but from my understanding, it was Notre Dame's more on Notre Dame's end, to cancel the visit, and the Irish are moving forward with its offensive lineman, by all accounts, and it's a pretty strong interior offensive line. You got Blake Fisher and Joe Alt, of course, on your bookends, but Andrew Christopher's played a lot of football. You have Rocco Spindler. Is this finally his year to break through? Zeke Correll's back, of course. Then you have someone like Billy Schrouth break through the lineup. Is an interior offensive lineman. Lots of different moving pieces there. Michael Carmody, I know, has practiced at both tackle and guard during his Notre Dame career. So, you feel great about the bookend tackles. If you were to bring in Lunsford, there's a pencil-in starter basically. But Notre Dame's not going that direction, and again, they got Christophic, Correll, Spindler, Schrouth, just a few of the names to battle for some of those spots.
Players were very positive about Schrouth. He's gotten a lot of good recognition from the players, late last season. So that's a guy who's maybe picking up a little momentum right now in the interior of the offensive line. And, Mike, when this small little window opens later on this spring in terms of the transfer portal, hey, it's not out of the question Notre Dame might add a defensive lineman. Look at Chris Smith last year, got him from Harvard. And, Mike, where would this team be without Chris Smith? Now, it's not like he's an All-American, but man, they needed him in terms of depth pieces, started a game. So it would not be shocking if they don't go down that road again.
And to be completely honest with you, Darren, there were about 3 players that we were a little surprised didn't enter the transfer portal from Notre Dame. And the winter transfer portal period. I don't know what the correct term for that is. So I would expect some outgoings in that spring portal period.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised either if there's incomings. I think although the Lunsford thing didn't happen, I think it does kind of remind us, Darren, and I believe I've said this on our show, it's that Notre Dame is looking always to improve every single position. Like, I don't think they're going to bring in a left tackle for a 1-year rental, but seriously, or a quarterback, right? But all these other positions, like they are always have their ears there. I get this question a lot. Hey, Mike, does Notre Dame have someone who all they do is just monitor the transfer portal? Well, I don't think they have one person who's just dedicated to hit, the F5 button and refresh and just look at the transfer portal. Yes, it is something that Notre Dame is always nonstop looking at.